Hello, welcome back to Historical Heralds. Today, we're diving into the captivating world of the Tudor court. This era is filled with power struggles, political intrigue, and passionate romances that have shaped the course of English history. Join us as we explore the lives and legacies of the key figures in the Tudor dynasty, from the ambitious Henry VII to the formidable Elizabeth I. The Tudor court, spanning from 1485 to 1603, is one of the most fascinating periods in English history. The Tudor dynasty brought significant changes to England, including the establishment of a powerful central government, the English Reformation, and the expansion of Renaissance culture. In this video, we'll delve deep into the lives of the Tudors, analyzing their personalities, motivations, and the impact they had on their time. Let's start with the founder of the Tudor dynasty, Henry VII. Henry VII, born Henry Tudor, is a key figure in English history. His ascent to the throne marked the end of the Wars of the Roses and the beginning of the Tudor era. In this video, we'll delve into his early life, his rise to power, his reign, his marriages, and his lasting impact on England. Henry's early life was far from easy. Born on January 28, 1457, in Pembroke Castle, Wales, Henry was the son of Edmund Tudor and Lady Margaret Beaufort. His father died before his birth, and his early years were marked by political instability. Henry's claim to the throne came through his mother, a descendant of John of Gaunt, a son of King Edward III. Despite this royal lineage, his path to the throne was far from secure. Henry spent much of his youth in exile in Brittany and France, avoiding the conflicts of the Wars of the Roses. Henry's rise to power began with the decisive Battle of Bosworth Field on August 22, 1485. With the support of loyal followers and French troops, Henry defeated King Richard III, effectively ending the Wars of the Roses. Henry's victory at Bosworth was not just a military triumph, but a strategic masterstroke. He married Elizabeth of York, uniting the warring houses of Lancaster and York. This marriage symbolized the end of civil strife and the beginning of a new era of stability. As king, Henry VII focused on consolidating his power and restoring order to England. He established the Tudor dynasty, which would rule for over a century. His reign was characterized by cautious governance and shrewd political maneuvers. Henry strengthened the monarchy by curbing the power of the nobility. He established the Court of Star Chamber to deal with unruly nobles and enforced strict laws against retaining private armies. These measures helped to centralize authority and prevent the kind of noble feuding that had plagued England for decades. Henry VII was also known for his fiscal prudence. He implemented policies to increase royal revenues and reduce the crown's debt. Through efficient tax collection and fines, Henry restored the financial health of the monarchy. One of his most notable financial strategies was the use of bonds and recognizances, legal mechanisms that ensured the loyalty and good behavior of the nobility. These financial measures not only enriched the crown, but also secured the loyalty of potentially rebellious subjects. In terms of foreign policy, Henry VII sought to secure England's position through strategic marriages and alliances. He arranged the marriage of his eldest son, Arthur, to Catherine of Aragon, forming a crucial alliance with Spain. Although Arthur's untimely death in 1502 was a blow, Henry continued to pursue advantageous alliances. His daughter Margaret's marriage to James IV of Scotland eventually led to the unification of the English and Scottish crowns under their great-grandson James VI and I. Henry VII's marriage to Elizabeth of York was not only a political alliance, but also a personal union that symbolized the end of the Wars of the Roses. Elizabeth was the daughter of Edward IV, a member of the House of York, and their marriage helped legitimize Henry's claim to the throne. Together, they had 7 children, 4 of whom survived infancy: Arthur, Margaret, Henry, and Mary. Their marriage brought much-needed stability to the English throne and ensured the continuation of the Tudor line. Henry VII's legacy is one of stability and foundation building. His reign set the stage for the flourishing of the Tudor dynasty under his successors. By restoring order, strengthening the monarchy, and securing the finances of the realm, Henry laid the groundwork for the cultural and political achievements of the Tudor era. The Tudor dynasty left a profound legacy on England and the world. Their reign saw the consolidation of royal power, significant religious transformations, and a cultural renaissance that produced some of the greatest works of literature and art. Henry VII's cautious and pragmatic approach to governance ensured that the Tudor dynasty would be remembered as one of the most significant periods in English history. His contributions to the stability and prosperity of England cannot be overstated. From his rise to power at the Battle of Bosworth to his efforts in stabilizing England, Henry VII's reign was pivotal in shaping the future of the nation. His legacy as the architect of the Tudor dynasty continues to be felt today. Henry's first wife, Catherine of Aragon, was a devout Catholic and daughter of the powerful Spanish monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella. Catherine of Aragon was born on December 16, 1485, in Alcalá de Henares, Spain. She was the youngest surviving child of the powerful Catholic monarchs, King Ferdinand II of Aragon and Queen Isabella I of Castile. From a young age, Catherine was destined for greatness, being betrothed to Arthur, Prince of Wales, the eldest son of Henry VII of England, to cement an alliance between Spain and England. In 1501, at the age of 15, Catherine traveled to England and married Arthur. The marriage was short-lived as Arthur died just 6 months later, leaving Catherine a widow in a foreign land. This untimely death put Catherine in a precarious position, both politically and personally. To maintain the alliance between Spain and England, it was decided that Catherine would marry Arthur's younger brother Henry, who was now the heir to the throne. Catherine's marriage to Henry VIII in 1509 was initially a strong and affectionate union. Catherine was intelligent, well-educated, and deeply religious. She was fluent in several languages, knowledgeable in classical literature, and skilled in diplomacy. Her education and upbringing made her an exemplary queen. Catherine and Henry's marriage was marked by mutual respect and admiration, and she played a significant role in advising him on political matters. However, their marriage faced significant challenges, primarily due to Catherine's inability to produce a male heir. Over the course of their marriage, Catherine gave birth to several children, but only one survived infancy, Mary, who would later become Mary I of England. The lack of a male heir created immense pressure on the marriage and the stability of the Tudor dynasty. Catherine's devout Catholic faith and her strong sense of duty defined her character. She was deeply committed to her role as queen and her marriage to Henry. Despite her personal losses and the political pressures, Catherine remained steadfast in her beliefs and her loyalty to Henry. Her devoutness was evident in her numerous acts of charity and her dedication to the education and welfare of her subjects. As Henry grew increasingly desperate for a male heir, he sought to annul his marriage to Catherine. He argued that their marriage was invalid because she had previously been married to his brother Arthur. Catherine vehemently opposed this claim, maintaining that her marriage to Arthur had never been consummated and that her marriage to Henry was legitimate. Her refusal to acquiesce to the annulment request set off a series of events that would lead to the English Reformation. In 1527, Henry sought an annulment from Pope Clement VII, but the Pope refused, influenced by Catherine's powerful nephew, Holy Roman Emperor Charles V. Frustrated by the Pope's refusal, Henry broke from the Roman Catholic Church and established the Church of England, declaring himself its supreme head. This monumental decision allowed Henry to annul his marriage to Catherine in 1533 and marry Anne Boleyn. Catherine's response to these events was one of remarkable dignity and courage. Despite being separated from her daughter Mary and confined to increasingly remote residences, she continued to assert her position as the rightful Queen of England. She refused to accept the annulment and steadfastly maintained her faith and principles until her death. Catherine spent her final years at Kimbolton Castle, where she continued her religious practices and charitable works. Catherine of Aragon died on January 7, 1536, at the age of 50. Her life and legacy are remembered for her unwavering faith, her dedication to her role as queen, and her profound impact on English history. Her daughter Mary I would eventually ascend the throne, continuing her mother's legacy and striving to restore Catholicism in England. Anne Boleyn, Henry's second wife, is perhaps the most controversial figure in Tudor history. Her intelligence, charm, and ambition captivated Henry, leading him to pursue her relentlessly. Unlike his previous mistresses, Anne refused to become his lover without the promise of marriage, a decision that ultimately changed the course of English history. Anne Boleyn was born around 1501, the daughter of Thomas Boleyn, an ambitious courtier, and Lady Elizabeth Howard, a member of one of the most powerful families in England. Anne's early years were spent in the Netherlands and France, where she received an excellent education, becoming fluent in French and acquiring the sophisticated manners of the European courts. This upbringing set her apart from many of her English contemporaries. Anne returned to England in the early 1520s and quickly became a prominent figure at the court of Henry VIII. Her intelligence, wit, and charm captivated many, but it was her relationship with the king that would change the course of history. Unlike many women who sought the king's favor, Anne refused to become his mistress, insisting on marriage instead. This bold stance only increased Henry's desire for her. By the mid-1520s, Henry's marriage to his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, had become strained, primarily due to Catherine's failure to produce a male heir. Henry's infatuation with Anne Boleyn, combined with his desire for a male heir, led him to seek an annulment of his marriage to Catherine. This quest for annulment set off a series of events that would lead to the English Reformation. When Pope Clement VII refused to annul Henry's marriage to Catherine, Henry took the unprecedented step of breaking from the Roman Catholic Church. He declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England, allowing him to annul his marriage and marry Anne. In January 1533, Henry and Anne were secretly married, and Anne was crowned queen in June of that same year. Anne Boleyn's reign as queen was marked by both triumph and turmoil. She gave birth to a daughter, Elizabeth, in September 1533. Although Henry was initially disappointed by the birth of a girl, Elizabeth would later become one of England's greatest monarchs. Anne's position, however, was precarious. She had many enemies at court, and her inability to produce a male heir put her in a vulnerable position. Anne was a strong advocate for religious reform and played a crucial role in promoting the Protestant cause in England. She supported the translation of the Bible into English and was a patron of reformist scholars and writers. Her influence extended beyond her religious convictions. She was also a patron of the arts and fashion, setting trends that were emulated throughout the court. Despite her accomplishments, Anne's marriage to Henry began to unravel. By 1536, Henry had become infatuated with Jane Seymour, one of Anne's ladies-in-waiting. Anne's enemies at court, including Thomas Cromwell, saw an opportunity to bring about her downfall. In May 1536, Anne was arrested and charged with adultery, incest, and treason. The charges were almost certainly fabricated, but they were enough to secure her conviction. Anne Boleyn was tried and found guilty by a jury of her peers. On May 19, 1536, she was executed by beheading at the Tower of London. Her death marked a tragic end to a life that had once held so much promise. Anne faced her execution with dignity, famously declaring her innocence and expressing her loyalty to the king. Anne Boleyn's legacy is a complex one. She was a key figure in the English Reformation, her marriage to Henry VIII leading to the break with Rome and the establishment of the Church of England. Her daughter, Elizabeth I, would go on to become one of England's most celebrated monarchs, ushering in a golden age of culture and exploration. Anne's life and death continue to fascinate and inspire, her story a testament to the volatile nature of the Tudor court and the enduring impact of her brief reign as queen. Her intelligence, ambition, and courage in the face of adversity have cemented her place in history as one of the most intriguing figures of the Tudor era. Henry's third wife, Jane Seymour, provided the long-awaited male heir, Edward VI. Jane's gentle and submissive nature endeared her to Henry, and she is often remembered as his true wife. Tragically, she died shortly after giving birth to Edward, leaving a lasting impact on Henry. Jane Seymour was born around 1508, the daughter of Sir John Seymour and Marjorie Wentworth. She came from a noble family and grew up in Wiltshire, England. Unlike Henry's previous wives, Jane was not known for her education or sophistication. Instead, she was praised for her gentle and submissive nature, qualities that endeared her to Henry VIII. Jane first came to court as a lady-in-waiting to Catherine of Aragon and later served Anne Boleyn. It was during her service to Anne that she caught the eye of Henry VIII. By 1535, Henry's marriage to Anne Boleyn was deteriorating, and he began to court Jane. Her demure demeanor and apparent innocence were in stark contrast to Anne's fiery personality, making her an appealing choice for Henry. After Anne Boleyn's execution in May 1536, Henry wasted no time in marrying Jane. They were betrothed on May 20th, just one day after Anne's death, and married 10 days later on May 30th, 1536. Jane was immediately declared queen consort, and her primary duty became producing a male heir for the Tudor dynasty. Jane Seymour's reign as queen was brief but significant. In October 1537, she gave birth to the long-awaited male heir, Prince Edward. The birth of Edward was a moment of great joy for Henry and the Tudor court, as it secured the succession and brought stability to the monarchy. Jane's successful delivery of a male heir elevated her status and solidified her place in Henry's heart. Tragically, Jane's joy was short-lived. She fell ill shortly after Edward's birth, likely due to postnatal complications. Despite the best efforts of her physicians, Jane Seymour died on October 24, 1537, just 12 days after giving birth. Her death deeply affected Henry, who mourned her passing for an extended period. Jane was the only one of Henry's wives to receive a queen's funeral and was buried at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle. Jane Seymour's legacy is often defined by her role as the mother of Edward VI, Henry's long-desired male heir. Her brief tenure as queen was marked by her efforts to reconcile Henry with his daughters, Mary and Elizabeth, from his previous marriages. Jane played a crucial role in restoring Mary to the line of succession and fostering a more harmonious royal family. Unlike her predecessors, Jane did not engage in significant political maneuvering or religious reforms. Her influence on Henry was more personal, providing him with the stability and domestic peace he craved. Jane's gentle nature and her successful delivery of a male heir ensured her lasting legacy in the Tudor dynasty. Despite her short life, Jane Seymour left an indelible mark on English history. Her son, Edward VI, would become king at the age of 9, continuing the Tudor line. Although Edward's reign was brief and fraught with challenges, Jane's contribution to the dynasty cannot be overstated. Jane Seymour's story is a testament to the complexities and dangers of life in the Tudor court. Her ability to navigate this treacherous environment, even briefly, and fulfill the king's most fervent desire for a male heir highlights her significant role in the history of the Tudor dynasty. Anne of Cleves, Henry's fourth wife, was chosen for political reasons to form an alliance with her brother, the Duke of Cleves. However, their marriage was annulled after just 6 months, with Henry famously declaring he found her unattractive. Despite the annulment, Anne remained in England and was treated generously by Henry, earning the title of the King's beloved sister. Anne of Cleves was born on September 22, 1515, in Dusseldorf, in what is now Germany. She was the daughter of John III, Duke of Cleves, and Maria of Jülichburg. Anne grew up in a modest court, receiving a limited education compared to Henry's previous wives. She was taught the basics of household management and some needlework, but she was not exposed to the same level of cultural sophistication as women in other European courts. In 1539, Henry VIII was seeking a new wife after the death of Jane Seymour. His chief minister, Thomas Cromwell, suggested Anne of Cleves as a potential bride to strengthen the alliance between England and the Protestant states of Germany. Henry agreed and sent the artist Hans Holbein the Younger to paint Anne's portrait. Pleased with the painting, Henry decided to proceed with the marriage. Anne arrived in England in December 1539. However, when Henry met her in person, he was reportedly disappointed with her appearance, famously referring to her as a Flanders mare. Despite his initial dismay, the marriage went ahead and they were wed on January 6, 1540. Anne's marriage to Henry lasted only 6 months, making her the queen for the shortest period among Henry's wives. The marriage was never consummated, and Henry sought to annul it, citing Anne's pre-contract with Francis, Duke of Lorraine, and his own inability to consummate the union. Anne, understanding her precarious position, did not contest the annulment. On July 9, 1540, their marriage was declared null and void. Despite the annulment, Anne of Cleves was treated generously by Henry. She was given a generous settlement, including several estates, and was awarded the honorary title of the King's beloved sister. Anne chose to remain in England, living comfortably in the properties granted to her. She maintained a good relationship with Henry and his children, often visiting the court and participating in royal events. Anne of Cleves adapted well to her new life in England, embracing her role as a noblewoman rather than a queen. She became known for her kindness and graciousness, qualities that endeared her to the English people. Anne was present at significant court events, including the coronation of Henry's daughter Mary VIII in 1553. Anne's life after her annulment was relatively peaceful and prosperous. She enjoyed the respect and affection of Henry's children and continued to live in England until her death. Anne of Cleves passed away on July 16, 1557, and was buried in Westminster Abbey, a testament to her enduring status and the respect she commanded. Anne of Cleves' story is a fascinating chapter in the history of the Tudor court. Her brief marriage to Henry VIII and her ability to navigate the complexities of the annulment with dignity and grace ensured her a secure and comfortable life in England. Her legacy is one of resilience and adaptability, qualities that allowed her to thrive despite the challenges she faced. Henry's fifth wife, Catherine Howard, was a young and vivacious courtier who captured the aging king's heart. However, her past indiscretions and subsequent infidelities led to her downfall. Catherine was executed for adultery, echoing the tragic fate of her cousin Anne Boleyn. Catherine Howard was born around 1521, the daughter of Lord Edmund Howard and Joyce Culpeper. She was a cousin of Anne Boleyn, Henry's second wife, and grew up in the household of her step-grandmother, the Dowager Duchess of Norfolk. Catherine's early years were marked by a lack of supervision and a carefree environment, which later contributed to her downfall. Catherine entered the court of Henry VIII as a lady-in-waiting to Anne of Cleves in 1539. Her beauty and vivacious personality quickly caught the eye of the king, who was captivated by her youthful charm. Henry, who was in his late 40s at the time, saw in Catherine a chance to recapture the vigor of his youth. In July 1540, just a few weeks after his marriage to Anne of Cleves was annulled, Henry married Catherine Howard. Catherine, then about 19 years old, became queen consort. Her marriage to Henry was marked by lavish displays of affection and opulent court life. Henry showered her with gifts and attention, seemingly besotted by his young bride. However, Catherine's past soon caught up with her. Before her marriage to Henry, she had engaged in romantic relationships with Frances Derham and Henry Manox, both of whom had been associated with the household where she grew up. These relationships became the subject of intense scrutiny once Catherine became queen. Despite her precarious position, Catherine continued to engage in a secret affair with Thomas Culpeper, a gentleman of the king's privy chamber. Their illicit meetings were arranged with the help of Lady Rochford, the widow of George Boleyn, Anne Boleyn's brother. These clandestine encounters would ultimately seal Catherine's fate. In November 1541, allegations of Catherine's infidelity reached the king. An investigation was launched, and evidence of her past relationships and her affair with Culpeper came to light. Henry was devastated by the betrayal, and Catherine was stripped of her title as queen and placed under house arrest. Catherine Howard was imprisoned in Sion Abbey, where she awaited her fate. In February 1542, she was taken to the Tower of London, where she was charged with treason. On February 13, 1542, Catherine was executed by beheading at the age of about 21. Lady Rochford was also executed for her role in facilitating the Queen's affair. Catherine's execution was a grim reminder of the dangers and volatility of life at the Tudor court. Her brief tenure as queen and her tragic end have left a lasting impression on history. Catherine's story is often seen as a cautionary tale of youthful indiscretion and the perils of courtly life. Despite her tragic fate, Catherine Howard's legacy is a poignant chapter in the history of the Tudor dynasty. Her story highlights the complexities and harsh realities of life in Henry VIII's court, where even the slightest misstep could lead to disaster. Henry's sixth and final wife, Catherine Parr, was a wise and caring woman who outlived him. She played a crucial role in restoring Henry's relationships with his daughters, Mary and Elizabeth, and was a strong advocate for the education of women. Catherine Parr was born in 1512, the daughter of Sir Thomas Parr and Maud Green. She was named after Catherine of Aragon, who was her godmother and the first wife of Henry VIII. Catherine Parr grew up in a well-connected and educated family, which helped shape her into the learned and capable woman she would become. Catherine Parr was married twice before she became queen. Her first marriage was to Sir Edward Berg, who died in 1533. She then married John Neville, Lord Latimer, in 1534. During her marriage to Lord Latimer, Catherine found herself involved in the political and religious turmoil of the time, particularly during the Pilgrimage of Grace, a major uprising against Henry VIII's religious reforms. After Lord Latimer's death in 1543, Catherine became a widow for the second time. She soon caught the eye of Henry VIII, who was captivated by her intelligence and grace. Despite having developed a romantic relationship with Thomas Seymour, brother of the late Queen Jane Seymour, Catherine accepted Henry's proposal out of a sense of duty and political necessity. Catherine Parr married Henry VIII on July 12, 1543, becoming his sixth and final wife. As queen, she played a significant role in the lives of Henry's children, working to reconcile Henry with his daughters, Mary and Elizabeth, and ensuring they were restored to the line of succession. Catherine was also a devoted stepmother to Henry's son, Edward. An accomplished scholar, Catherine Parr was the first Queen of England to publish a book under her own name. Her works, Prayers or Meditations and The Lamentation of a Sinner, reflect her deep religious convictions and support for the Protestant Reformation. Her influence extended beyond her writings. She was an advocate for education and the promotion of religious reform. Catherine's intelligence and outspoken nature occasionally put her at risk. In 1546, she narrowly escaped arrest for her Protestant sympathies when Henry's conservative advisors sought to undermine her. However, Catherine managed to regain Henry's favor, demonstrating her political acumen and survival instincts. After Henry VIII's death in 1547, Catherine Parr was free to marry Thomas Seymour, whom she had loved before her marriage to Henry. They wed in secret, but their marriage was short-lived. Catherine gave birth to her only child, Mary Seymour, in 1548. Tragically, Catherine died shortly after childbirth on September 5, 1548, at Sudeley Castle. Catherine Parr's legacy is multifaceted. She was not only a survivor in the dangerous world of the Tudor court, but also a pioneer for women's education and religious reform. Her efforts to promote Protestantism and her role in the upbringing of Henry's children had a lasting impact on the future of England. Catherine Parr is remembered as a compassionate and intelligent queen who navigated the complexities of the Tudor court with grace and resilience. Her contributions to the cultural and religious landscape of England continue to be celebrated. Edward VI, Henry's only male heir, ascended the throne at the age of 9. His reign was marked by efforts to further the Protestant Reformation. However, his rule was short-lived, as he died at the age of 15, leading to a succession crisis. Edward VI was born on October 12, 1537, at Hampton Court Palace. He was the long-awaited male heir of Henry VIII and his third wife, Jane Seymour. Jane tragically died just 12 days after his birth, leaving Edward motherless. His birth was celebrated across England as it secured the Tudor succession. Edward was a highly intelligent and well-educated child. He was tutored by some of the most brilliant scholars of the time, including John Check, Richard Cox, and Roger Ascham. He received a rigorous education in subjects such as theology, philosophy, and the classics, and he was fluent in several languages, including Latin, Greek, and French. Henry VIII died in January 1547, and 9-year-old Edward ascended to the throne. Due to his youth, the kingdom was governed by a regency council, led initially by his uncle, Edward Seymour, the Duke of Somerset. Somerset was a staunch Protestant and implemented significant religious reforms, continuing the work of the English Reformation initiated by Henry VIII. During Edward's reign, the Church of England moved further away from Catholicism. The Book of Common Prayer, introduced in 1549, standardized English worship and was a key element in the Protestant Reformation. Edward's reign saw the abolition of the Mass, the removal of images from churches, and the dissolution of chantries. Edward Seymour's policies, however, were not without controversy. His aggressive approach to land enclosures and social reforms led to widespread unrest, including the Prayer Book Rebellion in 1549. His handling of these issues weakened his position, and he was eventually overthrown by John Dudley, the Duke of Northumberland. Northumberland took control of the regency and continued the Protestant reforms. He also sought to secure his power by influencing Edward's succession plans. As Edward's health began to decline in early 1553, Northumberland persuaded him to name Lady Jane Grey, Northumberland's daughter-in-law, as his successor, bypassing Edward's half-sisters, Mary and Elizabeth. Edward VI died on July 6, 1553, at the age of 15, likely from tuberculosis. His death marked the end of his brief but impactful reign. Edward's religious reforms had lasting effects on the Church of England, firmly establishing it as a Protestant institution. Despite his short life, Edward VI's reign was pivotal in the history of the English Reformation. His commitment to Protestantism shaped the religious landscape of England and influenced future monarchs. Edward's intellectual abilities and dedication to his faith were remarkable, especially for someone so young. Edward VI's legacy is often overshadowed by the reigns of his more famous father, Henry VIII, and his half-sister, Elizabeth I. However, his contributions to the English Reformation and his vision for a Protestant England remain significant. Mary I, also known as Bloody Mary, sought to restore Catholicism in England after her brother Edward's Protestant reign. Her marriage to Philip II of Spain and her persecution of Protestants led to a tumultuous and bloody reign. Mary I was born on February 18, 1516 at Greenwich Palace. She was the daughter of Henry VIII and his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. As the only surviving child of her parents' marriage, Mary was highly valued and received an excellent education, including studies in Latin, Spanish, music, and theology. Mary's early life was significantly affected by the turbulent events of her father's reign, particularly his quest for a male heir. When Henry sought to annul his marriage to Catherine to marry Anne Boleyn, Mary was declared illegitimate and separated from her mother. This period of emotional strain and instability left a lasting impact on her. After her father's death and the short reign of her half-brother Edward VI, who tried to solidify Protestant reforms, Mary ascended to the throne on July 19, 1553, becoming the first reigning queen of England. Her primary goal was to restore Catholicism in England, reversing the Protestant Reformation that her father and brother had established. Mary's reign is best known for her attempts to re-establish Catholicism. She married Philip II of Spain, a devout Catholic, in 1554. This marriage was unpopular with her subjects, who feared that England would become a satellite of the Habsburg Empire. Despite their concerns, Mary was determined to restore the Catholic faith in her kingdom. Mary's efforts to reinstate Catholicism led to the persecution of Protestants, which is the most infamous aspect of her reign. From 1555 to 1558, nearly 300 Protestants were burned at the stake for heresy, including prominent figures such as Archbishop Thomas Cromwell. These executions earned her the nickname Bloody Mary and left a dark legacy. Despite her harsh methods, Mary genuinely believed that she was saving her subjects' souls by returning them to the true faith. Her actions were motivated by a deep sense of religious duty and conviction. However, her policies created deep divisions and resentment, further entrenching Protestantism among many English people. Mary's reign was also marked by personal struggles. Her marriage to Philip II was childless, and she experienced multiple false pregnancies, which took a toll on her health and spirits. The lack of an heir left the future of the Tudor dynasty uncertain and added to the political instability of her reign. Mary died on November 17, 1558, at the age of 42. Her death brought an end to her attempt to restore Catholicism in England, as her Protestant half-sister, Elizabeth I, ascended to the throne. Elizabeth's long and successful reign reversed Mary's policies and firmly established Protestantism in England. Mary's legacy is complex. While she is often remembered for the religious persecutions that earned her the nickname Bloody Mary, her reign also marked significant moments in the history of female monarchy and religious conflict. Her determination and steadfastness in the face of adversity highlight her strength as a ruler, even if her methods and outcomes remain controversial. Elizabeth or the Virgin Queen is one of England's most iconic and celebrated monarchs. Her reign, known as the Elizabethan era, was marked by cultural flourishing, exploration, and the defeat of the Spanish Armada. Elizabeth was born on September 7, 1533, at Greenwich Palace, the daughter of Henry VIII and his second wife, Anne Boleyn. Her birth was a disappointment to her father, who desperately wanted a male heir. Elizabeth's early years were marked by political and religious upheaval, including her mother's execution when Elizabeth was just 2.5 years old. Despite the turmoil, Elizabeth received an excellent education. She was tutored by some of the best scholars of the time and became fluent in multiple languages, including Latin, French, Italian, and Spanish. Elizabeth was also well-versed in classical literature, history, and theology, which equipped her with the knowledge and skills she would later use as queen. Elizabeth's path to the throne was fraught with danger. After her father's death, her half-brother Edward VI took the throne but died young. Elizabeth's half-sister Mary then became queen and sought to restore Catholicism in England. Elizabeth, who was a Protestant, faced suspicion and imprisonment during Mary's reign. Despite the risks, she navigated these challenges with caution and intelligence. Elizabeth ascended to the throne on November 17, 1558, following Mary I's death. Her coronation marked the beginning of a new era, one that would be remembered as the Elizabethan Age. Elizabeth inherited a kingdom divided by religious conflict and economic difficulties. She immediately set out to stabilize the nation and establish her authority. One of Elizabeth's most significant achievements was the establishment of the Elizabethan religious settlement in 1559. This compromise aimed to unify the country by creating a moderate form of Protestantism, which became the Church of England. Elizabeth's pragmatic approach to religion helped ease tensions and allowed for relative religious peace during her reign. Elizabeth was known for her intelligence, political savvy, and strong will. She surrounded herself with capable advisors, including William Cecil and Francis Walsingham, who helped her navigate the complex politics of the time. Elizabeth's reign saw the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588, a momentous victory that solidified England's naval power and boosted national pride. Elizabeth's reign is often celebrated for its cultural achievements. The Elizabethan age saw a flourishing of English literature, music, and drama. William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, and other great writers produced works that remain influential to this day. Elizabeth herself was a patron of the arts and enjoyed the cultural vibrancy of her court. Elizabeth never married, earning her the nickname the Virgin Queen. Her decision to remain single was both a personal choice and a political strategy. By not marrying, Elizabeth avoided the potential complications and power struggles that could arise from a foreign alliance or a domestic faction. Her image as the Virgin Queen became a symbol of her independence and dedication to her country. Despite her strong leadership, Elizabeth's later years were marked by challenges, including economic difficulties, military conflicts, and internal dissent. The execution of Mary, Queen of Scots, in 1587 and the subsequent war with Spain strained her reign. Nevertheless, Elizabeth remained a beloved and respected monarch until her death on March 24, 1603. Elizabeth's legacy is one of resilience, intelligence, and cultural patronage. Her reign is often seen as a golden age in English history, marked by stability, artistic achievement, and national pride. Elizabeth's ability to navigate the complexities of her time and her dedication to her people have left an indelible mark on history. The Tudor dynasty left a profound legacy on England and the world. Their reign saw the consolidation of royal power, significant religious transformations, and a cultural renaissance that produced some of the greatest works of literature and art. Their stories, filled with intrigue, ambition, and passion, continue to captivate us today. The Tudors' impact on politics, religion, and culture remains evident, shaping the course of history for generations to come. From the cautious reign of Henry VII to the glorious Elizabethan era, the Tudor dynasty is a testament to the enduring power of ambition and resilience. Their contributions to human civilization are vast and enduring, leaving an indelible mark on history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Tudor court. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's most intriguing periods, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more fascinating history content. Share your thoughts on what you found most captivating about the Tudors in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring and discovering the wonders of our past.